Wow.
Wow.
What
We
a
started though.
what a day it's been.
We started though.
Before what
Are you
what
rolling?
oh this guy. That's your intro. That carton is in my frame and this bottle.
Ah,
And that's it. That's it.
welcome officially to the first episode of Swan Unscripted. So my name is Swan, not my official name, but my nickname. Um, and I'll be your host for the show. And the whole idea came, last year, 2024. I just got the idea to start a podcast where I could share, invite people where we share our experiences, talk about God mainly. It's mainly about God, share our Christian views on things, on anything, general things, right? And our experience with our walk with God, things we've experienced, how we navigated through life, and all that. So yeah, we have the first episode, and on the first episode, I have a very, very good friend of mine. We met last year. His name is Red. Not his official name, but yeah. So we met last year in church. I remember praying to God that I needed new friends. I needed good friends, and he's one of my answered prayers. So he is doing me the honors today, right?
This guy.
On being on this show. He's going to be my very, very first guest, right? And I just buzzed him. I was like, Red, I want to do this and I want you to be on the show. And he was like, yeah, sure. Let's do it. We were supposed to shoot last year. So we're shooting, this is the first month in 2025.
First Saturday in 2025.
First Saturday. We're supposed to shoot 2 Saturdays ago. For some reason, we were not able to shoot. We were supposed to shoot on the last Saturday of 2024. For some reason, we were not able to shoot. Today, for some reason, we're almost not able to shoot. But I said, no, the devil is a liar. This podcast is coming up. So I have Red, and I'm just gonna give him some time to, talk about himself before we get into the show.
Oh
So,
rah. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
yes, sir.
My name is Red. Obviously that's not my government name, but that's Red. Red will suffice.
Yeah. We'll go with
Who
that.
is Red? Red's an interesting character. I'm a creative. I feel like everyone is a creative these days.
Everybody,
Everybody's a creative.
as long as you can shoot with your camera.
We're all creative. We're all creative.
Yeah.
I'm a creative primarily. My expression of creativity is in copywriting. I work in advertising. But I love music, and I think it's something I can't escape from.
Okay.
Music has followed me all my life. I love God, and I've learned to love the journey with
Yeah.
God. Because I realized that those are two separate things. You can love God and not love the journey.
Okay.
But I love God, and He has helped me to learn how to love the journey with Him. Um, I like spaghetti, even though right now I shouldn't be eating it, and I don't.
You shouldn't, though.
I don't eat it.
You shouldn't.
They banned me from eating spaghetti, but I like
Oh,
spaghetti.
we wonder who. We wonder who banned.
We wonder who those who will remain nameless. One bed like this. One bed say I should spaghetti
Okay.
again, so I can't have spaghetti. I'm in love. Plan to get married this year.
Wow.
Send wedding money. Wedding is expensive. Send wedding money.
Agbada, me, I'm just focused
Please.
on the Agbada. That's all
I know.
like,
We did. We did.
guy,
Well, I think that's a good enough introduction
Okay.
for who I am. Everything else will be revealed as we go along.
Okay. So speaking about, you said the journey, right?
Mhm.
With God. Speaking about the journey, what are, for someone out there viewing and they're just starting their walk with God,
Mhm.
what are the attributes you think they need to possess to actually submit themselves to that,
Hmm.
to God's will?
Hmm. That's a very good question. And I think first off, if you're even just considering or like having a walk with God,
Yeah,
doing like living a more godly life, I think you're already on the right path because consideration is always the first step. So like first off, I
definitely.
applaud that.
Definitely.
But I think more than anything, the two things you will need, first of humility, because as human beings we live in a world that always teaches us to be self-reliant,
Yeah.
self-sufficient.
Yeah.
You hear
Yeah.
things like, oh, I'm a self-made this, I'm a self-made that. But in your faith walk, you're useless by yourself. Oh.
Honestly.
You're it's like, because the thing is, there's I want to say there's only so much your power can do, but in the grand scheme of things, your power can't do anything.
Basically, yeah.
It can't keep you from falling, it can't sustain the energy, it can't sustain any momentum. So you need to be humble enough to realize that this faith walk is not, it's not something that you can do by
By yourself,
yourself. So
definitely.
humility is the first thing. And then the second thing, I guess, would be consistency. Because the same way as human beings, when you learn something, it only gets better with time and with practice and with consistent I guess activity.
Yeah.
That's the same way it is with your faith walk. So if you stumble once, don't be like, okay, yeah, I messed up, end of the road. It's like, nah, go back, go again.
Try again.
Um, if you fail at something like your job, or even maybe you put out one piece of content and it doesn't work so well, you don't go, okay, that's it, I'm closing my Instagram account. You go, okay,
You try
we'll
again,
try
you
again.
go harder again. Yeah.
Exactly.
You
So
make a new plan, you go again.
exactly. And I think that we need to have carried that mindset into the things of God as well, where you need to be humble enough to realize that God is the only one who's going to help me do this, but also realize that, okay, in the moments when, okay, I fall or I stumble, I need to go back again. That
You're
consistency
definitely going
has
to
to be
fall.
there.
You can't you can't even do the journey without falling.
Mhm,
And it just makes me like, for me, I got really close to God 2024,
mhm,
2024,
mhm,
right? I always had the idea like, I'm serving God, I
mhm,
love God, I
mhm,
go to church. I was
mhm,
just doing church, right? But in 2024, I was at a point where I had a decision to make, right? Either keep trying this on your own, right, without having any direction, because I felt I could do it on my own, right?
mhm,
I was doing church, I was praying to God, but I didn't fully submit everything to Him, right?
mhm,
I think I was thinking, oh, I'll do this. I had plans basically, right?
mhm,
But they kept failing. And then when I started working with Him, I still didn't surrender to Him. I just thought maybe, okay, I'll wake up, I'll pray today, I'll do this, I'll do that. And then I'll go back to trying to do things on my own, trying to figure out things on my own. But it didn't work. So until I fully submitted everything to him, I'm like, okay, God, these are my plans, right? But I want to know your own plans for me. I
mhm,
discarded my own plans,
mhm,
and then I said, okay, show me. So for a very long time, I didn't have anything I was doing. I didn't even know what I wanted to do.
mhm,
But gradually, I kept on praying, and then gradually everything started to unfold, right? I mean, I'm here now. I got the idea to start this the same 2024 that I decided to submit
yeah,
everything to Him.
yeah,
I'm in a much better space. I'm not saying it's always going to be, all fun. And I mean, I had my moments where
mhm,
I took a step back, I fell, I had to like come back again, try again, try harder. I had moments where I slipped back into thinking I could do it by myself.
mhm.
He has given me the plans. He's also the one that will give you the process
Yes,
on how to do everything. So there were
absolutely.
moments where I felt I could do it my own way. Okay, I have this idea. Let me try it this way.
Mhm.
You will learn. You understand? So basically, at that moment, at that point, I
Yeah,
realized that okay, I have to go back to the
Cooper
person that actually gave me this
gave you
plan.
the instruction.
You
Yeah,
understand?
absolutely.
So yeah, 2024 was that time for me. So and then for me, for anyone viewing out there, I want to ask you like, what's how do you know? Okay, so what's that moment? What's that one thing that really, really happened that made you realize that okay, no, God really has my back. Like I like it
Hmm,
really, really built up your faith. Like, okay, God has my back. Like, what's that moment for you?
hmm, hmm. So I think
I mean, there might be multiple, but like, what's that one that you can really hold on to, and then just
yeah,
without off the top of your head, you can just say, yeah, this thing happened and blah blah blah, and you
yeah.
know,
I think it's interesting because for me, I don't think there was that one grand event where it's
yeah,
like, okay, this is where like
okay,
my faith and trust in God was cemented. But I try to do something where at the end of every year I reflect on the year
yeah,
in general. And I can say with all confidence that I've never had an end of year reflection where I was like, oh, I did better last year. And in terms of oh doing better last year, this is beyond or just things that matter to the physical or
Yeah.
matter to like human beings, but also in terms of oh where am I mentally, where am I emotionally, my family, where are they? And there are too many moving parts in the universe for me to take to be like, okay, I'm the one who orchestrated all of this.
Oh,
So I definitely know that, oh, this is just the mercy and the providence of God.
agree.
So I think just the consistency of faithfulness that God has displayed has
That's a good
helped
one.
me trust Him. Um, there was something that my pastor said to another of my pastors when I think he was going off with a different assignment, and that word always stuck with me. And the word was, "Let how far He has brought you
Yeah.
be the testament to how far He can
It
take
can
you."
take you.
And for me, that the word wasn't for me, oh, but I've held on to it like my life depends on
I'm going
it.
to write that one down.
Ah,
How
no.
far he has brought you
Let how
can
far
be
it
a
be testament to
testament.
how far He can take
Can
you.
take you. Very,
And
very good.
and I think honestly for me that's it. It's for me it's really just been a case of God has always been faithful. So I've learned to judge him faithful because he hasn't
Mm.
ever been anything but
Other than
faithful.
faithful, yeah.
Exactly. So for me, it's just like everything. It's everything. It's from like healing my mom to always providing to all making sure that even when my dad had like a proper, we thought we were going to lose him to cancer thing, he still came through from that. So there are just so many different ways that
I,
he's just
I I
been.
can relate to that because I also don't have that one grand moment
Yeah.
where like I saw something or I heard one voice or, but if I look back at the journey that I've had, even in my unfaithfulness,
Mm-hmm.
right? God has always been faithful.
Mm-hmm.
Right from when I was small, right from primary school, right from I just look back at the journey because my mom, I stayed with my mom. My dad was not with us, right? So the journey was just me, my mom. And then I look me, my mom, and my siblings. And then I look back to everything we went through up until this point,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you were me years ago when I was very young, I don't think I ever saw myself at this particular point that I
Yeah.
am right now,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I'm in a good space. My sister is in a good space. My mom is in a good place. Everything is just falling in place, and it's not by our own power. I mean, there are people out there that will take the credit for it. I choose not to because like you said, there are too many moving parts in the universe for me to think it's by my own power that all these things are working.
Absolutely.
It's definitely there has to be something more, right? And I choose to believe that it's God. I choose to put my faith in that it's God.
Mhm,
And I've also had moments where everybody can relate to this one, right? Where things are so hard,
mhm.
you're basically your account balance is red and then I'll just say it's silent prayer.
Mhm,
In my own mind, there are times when in my own mind I'm thinking of, okay, what's the next solution? How am I going to get money, right? There were times when I had to sell a whole lot of my things, right? I
mhm,
didn't have anything anymore to
mhm,
sell. And I'm there thinking, what to do, what to do, what to do. Who am I going to borrow money from? And one mind will just tell me, one voice, the Holy Spirit will just tell me, be still, be calm. He will provide for you. He has said it in his word that he knows what you need at every point in time. He's
mhm,
always going to provide for you.
mhm,
And randomly, I'll get a call, a job.
mhm,
Alpha, are you available for this job? The exact amount I need is what they'll pay me.
mhm.
And moments like that just shows me that he really listens, right? He
Yeah,
really, really listens. I mean, I just said a prayer like, okay, God, I need money, provide for me, right? You've said you provide for me every single time, right? It's also the process of submitting to Him because
absolutely.
those times you're trying, you can take the route of you trying to find someone to give you that money or ways where you can try to source for that money.
Mhm,
I feel that that's stressful in a way.
mhm.
I feel that that's stressful because you're racking your brain. You don't know what's gonna happen
Yeah.
ahead of time. You only know what is happening at that moment. But God knows what's gonna happen in the future. So
Mhm,
He knows the way He's going to make provision for you, whichever way, right? And then
mhm.
I just get a call. Someone is telling me, "Alpha, are you available for this job?" Something I never expected.
Yeah.
Majority of the jobs I got last year that made provision for me, I never to I wasn't
You
even
never expected
actively.
it.
I never expected
I never expected it.
I wasn't actively looking for any job.
Yeah.
I'll just be in my house. Someone will just call me. Alpha, I got a recommendation from someone that you do this, you do this, you do this. I'm like, yes, I do. Like, okay, how much is your charge? I'll tell them, they'll be like, okay, start calling. Provision made,
Uh-huh.
everything sorted, right?
Uh-huh.
So those moments really showed me that he cares
Uh-huh.
and he will never let me lack,
Absolutely.
regardless of the situation,
Mm.
right? So we've been talking about, submitting to God, and someone is out there looking at, okay, how do I submit to God? Like, what, like, basically, how do you
Mhm.
submit to God? How do you let him take control of everything? How do you hand it all to him?
Mm. That's always a very interesting question. Um, because I don't want to sound too deep or too spiritual now, but
Sound deep, Papa. Anyone?
may I come on this glasses first.
Come on, time. Come on, time.
But I think that the more you study, the more you learn about God, you realize that at the end of the day, you're not necessarily handing things over to Him because He already controls everything.
Great.
It's more of just the submitting to His lordship and His control. Um, and for everyone, the first step will have to be recognizing that He's sovereign, recognizing that He's the one. You won't submit to someone whose authority you don't recognize.
True.
If the president of maybe Botswana came and asked me to do something while here in Nigeria, I'm like, you don't have any authority here. I don't
You're just a
recognize you.
regular guy. Just
Exactly.
that guy.
You're a visitor. I don't
Uh-huh.
I don't need to accord you the same respect I would accord to the actual legitimate president of my country.
Yeah.
So submission first, the first thing you need to do is recognize that okay, God is sovereign and his will is the will. Everything else is just by the way. And then when you acknowledge that, the next thing I would say is trust that he's good. Um, because when in conversation with a lot of people, when you ask, oh, why exactly do you live life a certain way? Why don't you do things this way? Why do you do things that way? A lot of them, when you hear them speak, it makes they feel like, oh, living with God is not cool, or maybe serving God is not cool, or submitting to God
About
is
they
is
make
not
it seem like it's
fun.
hard.
No, to be fair, it is hard, but it's worth it.
Yes.
It's worth it. Um, because the things at the end of the day, we all do things that are hard if we consider them worth it.
Yeah.
You go to that job with that boss you absolutely don't like
Just because you
for
want the
several
money.
years because you feel like okay, they pay me enough to put up with this.
Definitely.
So trust that God is good and He's worth it. The moment you begin to understand and honestly believe that okay, being with God is worth it, serving God is worth it, it becomes a lot easier for you to submit to the lordship and authority of God. And the third, and I would say the most important thing will be ask Him to help you. Like we said, this faith walk is not anything you can do by your own strength or by your own power. So it means everything, or it's a game changer to be like, God, I want to trust you, but I don't know how. Help me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Help me trust you.
Yeah.
And God answers those prayers. Those prayers mean a lot to God. Because like what you were saying about oh how providential he is when oh like sometimes you need things and then people just pop up from nowhere. Sometimes it will be like people don't call. Sometimes it'll be that God, I need this, and it's just like silence.
Chill. It's
And
teaching you patience.
and yes, but then in moments like that, it's hard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if
I
you've not
agree.
learned that, oh, at the end of the day, everything is for my good,
Yeah. Everything works together
it
for your
becomes
good.
very hard to be like, okay, I'm still gonna submit, I'm still gonna just sit here and listen to you. So honestly, I think ask him for help, especially when it feels like this one is mission impossible. Especially in moments like that, that is
Yeah.
when you need the help of God the most. When you feel like, oh, this is a situation that God can't help me, that's when you should really, really rely on him even more. Because at the end of the day, he controls everything. He
Definitely.
controls everything.
Definitely.
And so if he says, talk to me when you need help, talk to him when you need help.
So I'm going to add to what you said. Um, First, believing that he's sovereign, right?
Hmm.
And one thing that really helped me was being thankful,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Even so, being thankful, gratitude, it changes things for you, right? Because when you have a heart of gratitude, the most smallest of things, you're always thankful for it,
Mhm,
right? Small things now
mhm,
begin to mean a lot to you,
mhm.
right? Even if it cannot do what you need it to do, it still means a lot to you. Gratitude is very, very, very important. I noticed, and one thing that changed my walk with God was just being grateful for things, regardless of the situation I find myself, regardless of how things are going, just trusting Him that okay, everything is going to be better. But I'm grateful for where I am right now because I know that you're using this situation
Mhm.
to build me into a better person. You're using everything that is happening right now to build me into a better person. So gratitude is something that you need to have in all situations,
Mhm.
every single situation.
Yeah.
Chain of thoughts don't die.
It happened. But I think to
Since you've already got. Okay, so obviously you're a very, very you're someone that I admire, right? I think I've told you before, I've mentioned it before. I see you as a very responsible man and you have great attributes to you. So I want to ask, as your walk with God shaped you in any way? Has it shaped you as a man in any way?
ah, short answer, yes. Long answer, there are only things to admire because of God.
Okay.
Um and I always tell people who like come to ask, oh, the kind of person you are, the way you behave, this and that and this. Oh my God, how do you think? I'm like, oh, it's God though. There's a time you have met me in this life,
Yeah.
you avoid me, you avoid me like devil. So I think once again back to this whole concept of self-made, self-made, self-made. Everything that people see, that people go, oh, this is something that's worthy of emulation, this is
Yeah.
something that's worthy of notes. I honestly have to give it all back to God. Because yeah, parents did their thing in training me a certain way, but honestly, it's God that is the one who makes sure or who ensures that, oh, you live life a certain way because you're trying to please him.
I agree.
So
I agree.
the spirit of excellence, for instance, which is something that, oh, people tell me, oh, you work so hard and da, 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 is because first of all, the Holy Spirit in you compels you to be excellent. If you're actually doing things the way you should be doing, the Holy Spirit compels you to excellence, and that is now something that the world says, "Oh, you're so fantastic, everything you do." It's like, oh, even if people were not here, I will still do things the way I do things, just because that's what the Holy Spirit expects of
Of
me.
you.
So I think definitely, or no, I know that definitely, the kind of person I am today is as a direct result
Oh,
of my walk with
same
God.
same with me too, because me, I know for sure that now I'm not saying about the attributes or the kind of man that I am. I'm saying
Mhm,
as a person as a whole, how I interact with people, how I've chosen to, speak with people, see people.
mhm,
I never used to be this way.
mhm,
I was this person. I used to think that okay, I had good attributes. I used to think that I was living my life in a good way, but it was until I came into Christ, right? I started my relationship with God. I saw that I was lacking in a whole lot of areas
mhm,
when it comes to communication.
mhm,
I'm not saying how I speak. I'm saying
mhm.
how how I keep my relationship with
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
I tend not to know how to communicate with people, like, speak my feelings. If someone, I don't even know how to keep my relationships with my friends,
Mhm,
right? It was that bad, right? It was when I came into Christ, I knew that, okay, I needed to fix this, right? It was when I came into Christ, I saw a whole lot of flaws
mhm,
and I needed to correct things, right?
mhm,
I needed to be the kind of man that the Bible tells me to be. If I was to rate myself over 10, let's say I had 10 attributes, if I was to rate myself over 10, I'd say maybe one, right? I saw a whole lot of things that needed to be fixed.
mhm,
So definitely for me, my walk with God shaped me as a man, right? And I would say this, it's a bold statement, but I'll say that your walk with God, any kind of man, anybody, your walk
mhm,
with God would shape your manhood, right? It will
mhm,
shape how you are as a man. There is no way you come into Christ and you don't change the way you see people,
Mm-hmm.
the way you communicate with
Mm-hmm.
people, the way you generally everything, it's definitely going to change, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can do so many other things outside of Christ, like, build yourself, you could go to the gym, do all sorts of things. But there are some
Jim was shine
characteristics.
that. Jim was shine that.
I mean, I don't
Jim
fit
was
talk
shine that.
without gym.
I'm not telling you.
I go throw some shit. Now I know be chop spaghetti now. So back to what I talk. Yeah, so there are some characteristics that you cannot have
Mhm,
or get
mhm.
outside of Christ.
Absolutely.
Do you get my point? I
Absolutely.
mean, the law, the commandment that Jesus was saying most of the time was love your neighbor as
That's
yourself,
just
right?
love.
And when we hear love, it is not this shaki shaki or relationship
Sina
love.
Shaki.
You understand? Genuine love, right? The
Mhm,
same love that he showed to us, the same sacrificial love that he showed to us,
mhm,
right? Me, oh, I'm not gonna lie. I used to think that I was great with people, but I wasn't, right? I
mhm,
couldn't make some sacrifices for some people, right? I
mhm,
couldn't do some certain things for some people. You wouldn't ask me for something and I will do it for you. But right now, at the point that I am right now, if I can do it for you, best believe I will, right? And that's love, right? It doesn't even have to be someone that I know. It could be any random person.
mhm,
Love your neighbor as yourself. It doesn't mean the people, the immediate people around you,
mhm.
anybody. I could be
Absolutely.
going on the road right now and someone stops me. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. I'll do it if I can.
Mhm,
Do you get my point? That's how well I've gotten as a man because of
mhm,
my work with Christ.
mhm.
So
And I think that's also something very interesting, because love, quote unquote, is something that is such a hot topic, such a buzzword.
yeah.
I mean, it has always been such a hot topic and buzzword in just the entirety of human existence. But the understanding of what love is dramatically changes when you actually have a walk with Christ. Um, and I love the fact that you touched on not just a relationship, but also
Mhm,
just interactions
mhm.
with people, because your walk with God affects the way you see people, affects the way you interact with people.
Yeah.
There are people who are just mean, and it's like, if you're genuinely walking with God, you not be this nasty.
It brings my mind back to when I was coming. I think I told you earlier, the Uber man
Yeah,
just trying to be mean for no reason, like, talking at me and saying, blah blah blah, I had money because I
yeah.
had to take some extra load. And trust me, if it was the old me, ha, we go fight till we reach here. I go change them for you, I go clear you. Do you understand? That was me, no bullshit, no nonsense. I
Mhm,
don't take it. It doesn't mean that you throw shit my way and then I'll just, keep quiet.
mhm,
But the way I'll address it,
mhm.
the way I addressed it, and he was talking and he was
Yeah.
just, I was calm. I'm like, sir, this is not the way I spoke with him. He just cooled down,
Mm.
like he calmed down. He didn't say anything until we got there, and then I paid him, and then we went our separate ways. I'm sure he could have gone a like totally
Absolutely.
differently. You understand?
Absolutely.
But it went a good way, and so I get what you're saying. I
Yeah.
get I get your point.
Because it makes you calmer, it makes you more polite. I think it's very important to put the distinction that the love of God does not make you foolish.
No, no,
It
people
it,
mistake
it
that.
doesn't. It
People
doesn't.
mistake
As
that.
as much as you're you're this very cheerful, this very well spirited person, it doesn't mean that, oh, you just sit down and let people abuse you. No,
No,
the spirit of God comes with wisdom,
true.
so you will know per time what you need to do. But at the same time, you need to know that it's not every time you form right. With the Holy Spirit,
Yeah.
you will do a lot of be the bigger person. You do quite a lot of it.
And
Quite
in being the bigger person, you're also in so many situations, you're also going to impact the person in a
absolutely, absolutely,
positive way, right? Because
absolutely.
if you go off on the person and you're shouting, the person has impacted you in a negative
Yes,
way.
yes.
But if you're calm and then you
Mhm,
just address it, the person is like, what's going on? Like, it
mhm.
might be their first encounter with someone that is so calm and
Yes.
chill like you, and then they're wondering like, what's this about this person that makes them so calm, so chill, and then the
Mhm,
way they handle things? I
mhm.
want to
Yeah.
know how to. So you never can tell. You never can tell. And so I'm gonna ask one more question before we like wrap the whole thing up, because for me, I um everything changed for me when I came to church. Like when I came to a proper church. I don't think I want to start mentioning churches or
Mhm,
anything, but I can mention the church I'm coming to, right? So when I got to CCI, right? Celebration Church, everything changed for me.
Mm-hmm.
That was when I realized that you could actually be going to church but not have a relationship with God,
Mm-hmm.
right? So everything changed for me. So what I want to ask is, do you think it's possible to have a relationship with God without doing church?
Hmm. 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 Um, my genuine answer, and maybe this might be a controversial thing, it's possible, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
And here's what I mean by it's possible. Um, so when we say do have a relationship with God without church, I'm guessing this means without going physically. I'm not taking from the angle of totally alienating yourself from other believers.
Let's take it from that angle.
We're taking on the angle of totally alienating from other believers. Ah,
Because so many people they have what we call church hurt.
yes, which is a very valid thing.
I have
Which is a
friends
very
that don't
valid
go
thing.
to church because they've had past experiences where things happened, and they don't even want to talk about it. They
Mhm,
just sideline church entirely.
mhm,
Do you think it's possible for those people to have a relationship with God, a genuine relationship with God,
mhm.
but never step in a church?
So, like I said, it's possible. I wouldn't recommend it, and here's why. Um, at the end of the day, relationship with God is a relationship with God. The
Yeah.
question now becomes: is it a healthy one or is it not a healthy one?
Okay.
And I'll use an example to explain. As believers, we go through times and seasons where it's just a lot tougher for you to be on your faith walk, and not necessarily because anything happens. It's just like, oh, there are just certain seasons when I don't feel as
Yeah,
in
I
tune with
agree.
God as I usually would. And so, in moments like that, if you have a community of brethren who you can call and be like, yo, could you just pray over me? Can you just like, speak life
Yes.
to
Yes.
me into everything I'm
Yes.
going through? That makes it easier to have a healthy relationship with God. But if it's just you and God on your own,
Hmm.
technically the relationship is still there.
It's still there.
But the question now becomes, is this all the relationship should be?
True.
And so at the end of the day, it's like, what do you want out of the relationship with God? If you want something that's healthy, if you want something that's thriving, then I definitely will say you need to go to church. You need to have a community of people that are not only feeding you the word, but can also act as people you are accountable to. That
Accountable
can
to.
act as people who, if you just need support, even out of church, even beyond spiritual support, maybe emotional support, mental support,
Yeah.
can be there for you. But if you say you want to do the relationship with God on your own, it's possible, but anything you see,
So
ah,
the reason why I asked that was because when I got to CCI, right, when I
uh-huh,
got to Celebration Church,
uh-huh,
and then I started my whole relationship with God, I felt that change. Like it was there. I felt that fire.
uh-huh,
I'm
uh-huh,
trying to do better. I'm trying to be
uh-huh,
better. But there was a time where I hit a plateau. Is that the
uh-huh.
right word?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it was just I wasn't. So I wasn't. It wasn't getting any better.
Uh-huh,
It wasn't getting bad.
uh-huh,
You understand? I was just there. I know that is God's position with me does not change. But sometimes we have a hard time, feeling God,
uh-huh.
understanding that He's still there. We are humans. You understand
Absolutely,
my point?
absolutely.
So I realized that when I got back into the church, right? When I started relating with people, I
Uh-huh,
mean, I met you, I met gospel, I met a couple people in church. I realized that everything started going back to normal because now it's not a competition,
uh-huh,
but I saw it's visible. Like your work with God to some extent is visible,
uh-huh.
right? How fervent you are, how
Yeah,
prayerful you
yeah,
are,
yeah,
how you share the word, how you even speak, how you relate with people.
yeah.
I saw that I could do better. Do you understand? I saw people that I could model myself
Uh-huh,
after.
uh-huh,
Not necessarily try to be them completely, but
uh-huh.
I knew that okay, there was
There are
more I
things to
could give. You,
emulate.
you understand?
Yes,
So and
absolutely.
then I found that it was easy for me, it was way easier for me to pray when I have. I mean, there was a day I came, we were together, and then we were
Yeah.
just talking about praying that okay, we need to meet up and start praying more often. And then that same day, unplanned,
You just say,
we
let's pray.
started praying.
That was
You
top place.
understand? So
Absolutely.
it's easier when you have people you can do your walk with God.
yes,
That community is very, very, very important. It says in the Bible that do not forsake the gathering of the saints, right?
Yeah.
It is very, very important. There's a reason why the Bible tells us that if you do it alone, there are going to be points in time when it feels like you're not doing anything.
Absolutely.
Do you get my point? And at those times, it is very, very dangerous because you could relapse. Like I'm calling it relapse because I mean, no other word came to my mind.
Yeah.
But you understand the point I'm trying to make.
Absolutely.
Like
I think the word is right as well.
you understand.
I think the
So
word is
you
right as
could
well.
relapse. You could start all over again from square one,
Mhm.
where you're now you get to a point where things are not moving, and then you feel because of that you find yourself sleeping. You don't study your Bible as much. You don't pray as much. You don't even, for some people that watch gospel sermons on YouTube, you find yourself you don't do all those things anymore. But if you have people that can hold you accountable,
Accountable.
Alpha, my guy, you watch that video, agree, say we'll go watch. Ah, okay, I'll go watch. Alpha, my guy, it's time for us to pray. This and that. Alpha, my guy, let's do Bible study. Stuff like that. I mean, we've not done Bible study, but other things, there are other aspects, right? So it is very, very dangerous. I feel it's very, very dangerous to do your walk with God alone. And it is very, very hard. His position with you will not change.
Oh, definitely.
For him,
he's ever there.
do you understand?
He's just like,
but because of
I'm gonna be here.
we are humans and we are flawed in every single way, it is harder for us to do it alone. But when you have that community, right, you go to church, you meet people. Do you know I look forward to coming to church every Sunday? Not just because I get to listen to the sermons or experience of it, but because I get to see my
people as
friends.
well. The people.
Do you understand? I get to see you guys. We get to talk. We get to exchange ideas. I get to, in a way, get better. So that's the community doing what it's supposed to do. So you really don't want to miss out on that community. So that's my 2 cents. So is there any other thing you feel you want to add or?
I think I would just like reiterate what I said at the beginning of the game, which is if there's anyone who's like listening, watching,
Yeah.
and you haven't quite decided what you want to do yet, you're still like a bit on the fence. Take my word for it. Like life with God is fantastic.
It's the best.
It's
I
fantastic.
can't
It's
lie to
fantastic.
you. Last year I was lost, no purpose, didn't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
Now I'm here, purposeful. I know what I want to do,
Yeah.
and I'm doing it gradually. Everything is unfolding, and I'm the most important thing of all. I'm doing it with God.
Oh. Hey, you say God is teaching us to love. Love me with dollars, please.
Can you shift?
Send USD. send
You go shift.
send USD.
Oh yeah, paste address. You go there now. We'll just paste. Just
I like this guy.
paste. I feel just do
I like this
small,
guy.
small
My
things, Jam.
baby come. Maybe just.
We'll leave out that kind of thing.
No man.
I think that's all we have for this episode.
Yeah, and that was a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot we've dropped.
And I'm looking forward to have you again. See, there's a whole lot of things that happen behind the scenes that you guys do not see. But next time, Red, I promise you no stress. Just come as our guests.
You can't stress me.
We go mic you.
That in a suit I go.
A suit. Red suit.
It's up. Red suit.
With a red tie.
Oh,
if you just put black shirts, make it just dig
I thought they look like cultists.
So yeah, that's it for the first episode, and we'll see you in subsequent episodes. We are gonna have Red again. Definitely. It can only make you marry yourself. I will collect permission from
next time I'll come with my babe. I'll come with my wife. She'll be my wife then.
all these relationship people. Anyhow, I'll see you guys in the next episode. I don't want to drag this on for too long, but see you guys in the next episode.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Please,
like,
channel.
share, and subscribe. It's a threat. Like, share, subscribe. Oh, it's not a threat. Apologies.
We are begging.
Please like, share, and subscribe. Exactly.
All right, now do have a good day, guys. All right.
Love you guys.
Okay.
Or maybe
Yo,
not.
it was a lot for me not to laugh, bro.
You missed. You
Nah, you nothing is
They don't see now.
Renzo goes see
On
now.
this
People are
AC.
very
On this
scared.
AC. On this AC. Sharp. This here big. We are safe.
Bro, I say this one no they record.
Hey, stop.
Okay.
No, it was a lot for me not to laugh.
Mama said, hey, stop.